action.
Okay, so it might be frustrating to you guys that we sat there and did substitution and elimination for 2 weeks, and then you're probably going to like this one better. Okay, the reason why this one's not always easier is because you guys still struggle with solving for variables, and so in order to do the graphing method, you have to always have it in y equals mx plus b. That's the very first step, is to rearrange both equations in slope-intercept form. Okay, so we have to have it in y equals mx plus b. You're solving for y. Okay. Let's remind ourselves, what does it mean to be the solution of a system of equations? What are we looking for?
The answer.
What is the answer? Okay, looking at this graph of these two equations, so this is a system. What is the solution? What am I looking for to solve the system?
X
The
and
variable.
Y.
X.
X and y of where?
The variable.
The equation.
Intercept.
Intersection. Good. We're looking for the x and y of the intersection. Okay? So this system of two equations, the solution would be 1, 4. Okay? That's the x and y value where they intersect. That's their solution. Okay. So we're going to make sure that we have both equations in y equals mx plus b. We're going to graph both equations, and then we're going to see where they intersect. Simple enough?
Oh, sure.
Alright, let's start off with an example that's easy, that it's already solved in y equals mx plus b for us. But let's go ahead and write out the steps. So step 1, put in y equals mx plus b. Okay, we just said that was done for us, so we'll put a check by that step. Step 2 is to graph. Okay, so let's take this first equation.
2x.
Okay, y equals 2x. Work with me. Tell me my steps of graphing. What do I do first?
Plot the
Find your
intercept.
Y-intercept.
Good. Plot y-intercept. So what's my y-intercept for this line?
0.
0, okay? It's like adding 0 onto the end. This last number is our y-intercept. So we plotted it at 0. What's my next step?
Use slope.
Okay, use slope to plot other points. Okay, so my slope is 2.
Up to.
Okay, up 2 and then right or left 1.
Right.
Right.
Up 2, right 1. How did I know that?
Because it's a positive.
Because it's a positive slope, so we need that positive correlation. So up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Because remember, a whole number is like saying over 1, so 2 over 1 is our fraction for a whole number. So that's our slope. Okay, and then our last is just to connect the points, the last step.
This graph's missing lines.
So that's our first line. Okay, so now we gotta do the second line. So our y-intercept is 5 with a slope of 1. So 1 is just like 1 over 1. So down 1, left 1. Because remember, we need that positive correlation. So if we go down, we have to go left. Down, left. Down, left. Okay. This is a poor graph because it only goes up to 6 on both sides, on all sides. But if we continue our graph, we see that it intersects up there.
Why'd you do a negative 1?
Positive 1. They're both.
But once you go up 1,
Right. Up 1 to the right 1 is the same as down and to the left. It still gets us that positive correlation.
It's up 1 over 1.
Up 1 over 1 because there's a 1 in front of that x that's a known 1. So it's like saying 1 over 1. Okay? So we know that if we go up, our x value is 5. And I'll tell you now that y value would be 10. Okay. It's a poorly written graph for us to be able to tell. Okay, so let's go down to this one. So y equals negative 2x plus 5, so we do the same steps. It's already in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so now we graph. So start at positive 5, and now it's down to right 1. Down to right 1. Okay, we need that negative slope or that negative correlation. And I graph my second line at negative 4. Up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1.
Hey, this one actually works.
It's on the graph. So our intersection is at 3, negative 1. And remember, we can always check ourselves. Okay, because I could go over here to the side and I could say my y value is negative 1. So I'm plugging into y equals negative 2x plus 5. Okay, then negative 2 times my x value. Okay, so does negative 6 plus 5 equal negative 1? It does. Okay, and then I can plug it in here also. So negative 1 equals 3 minus 4? Sure does. So we found our correct answer by plugging in the x and y value and checking ourselves.
Nope.
We want to do the same steps on this one, but is the first step done for us?
No.
No, not on one of them. On one of them it is, but we got to get that first one in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so I have x plus 4y equals 6. I want to get the y by itself, so I do the opposite operation and subtract the x over. It cancels on the left. Then I need to divide off the 4 by each part. So I'm left with y equals negative 1/4 x. And then I'll reduce that fraction to 3 halves. Okay, or 1.5. So now we graph, we do the same thing. So I'm going to start at 1.5 as my y-intercept. Then I'm going to go down 1, so I got to go to the half. And then over 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, how'd you get 1.5?
Because 3 divided by 2 is 1.5.
6 divided by
Or
That's
6
not-
divided by 4 is 1.5.
3 divided by 2 is not.
My line didn't match up.
1 and 1/2.
Yeah.
Go up 1 and then just a little bit more for the half. Okay, then our second line, so go to 3, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. And they intersect at 2, 1.
It's complicated.
Is this easier?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, it is.
So, we don't really like graphing by hand all the time, right? You have this great technology that you guys always say, why can't I just put it in the calculator?
We can.
Well, you can, okay? It won't do every step for you, okay? So, for instance, I'll leave number 5 for you to practice on your own. Okay, you're going to have to solve both equations for y and then graph. But let's talk about how to do this in your calculator. You always want to use your technology. Why would I do it when the technology does it for me? Okay?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
The
saying.
first step, the calculator will not do for you. You cannot put something in for x and y and with variables and that it solves for y for you. Okay, so you're going to have to arrange it in slope-intercept form. Okay, but after that, the calculator will then do it for you. Okay, so you have to do the initial rearranging. Okay, so for instance, on the example 1 that we've already done, so we know the solution to. Okay, The first step is done for us, so it's in y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to turn our calculator on. Okay. Step 2 is to go to y equals. Okay, so click the y equals button over here. It's under stat plot. It says y equals. So I'm going to type in 2x in y1. That's my first equation. And then x plus 5 in y2. Then step 3. I'm going to go to graph. If I can't see this intersection, what I can do is click zoom. That's right there under format. And then scroll down to in or out. For this instance, I can't see it yet, so I can zoom out. Click enter. Zoom is right under format. Click go down to zoom out, and if I click enter, I can then it broadens me out so I can see where they intersect.
So 1 and 2?
Right. So we might be able to see it, but what really helps us is it even gives us the intersection. So if I go to second, trace, okay, and go down to intersect, go to number 5, intersect,
Wait,
Where's Trey?
how'd you get that
Right here.
calculate going up?
go second, trace, go down to intersect, and then click enter, and it tells us my intersection is at 5, 10. Okay, so click enter 3 times, and then our solution is 5, 10, which is what we found while we were hand graphing it. Yes, the calculator will solve the system for you, but there are still steps that you need to do. And you have to remember this. So when you get on EOC, you're going to have a graphing calculator, but you're not going to have the steps written down in your notes for you. On our test, just in class, you're going to have to remember what steps are in the calculator. You can't just assume the calculator's going to do it for you. You have to remember those steps to do. To remember to go to second, trace, find the intersection. Okay?
We can't just have like a sheet that tells.
No, you may not. EOC will not let you just have a sheet with all your notes written down.
That'd be so cool if they did let us do that.
I would love that. Or just that'd be cool.
Okay, let's do another example. Yes, that would be great, but they will not
Do an
let you.
X one.
They should. Bubbles.
We should have a
Okay.
petition.
So do the same thing. Go to y equals. Type in your equations. Click graph. Okay. Now we can even go and zoom back in. Okay, so I can go to zoom in, and it gets me a better view. Then I can continue to follow the steps. Second, trace. Go down to intersect. Click enter, and I get 3, -1, which is exactly what we got by following the handwritten steps.